For more on this, we have Mourad Dhina joining us now from Geneva, and he's the president and co-founder of the Rachad Movement. That's an Algerian opposition movement advocating radical, non-violent change in the Algerian political system. Thanks so much for joining us here on TRT World. I want to start by confirming that we know President Bouteflika has now registered for the elections in April, so he will run for a fifth term. And we've already seen days of very rare protests in Algeria. Can they make a difference?
Well, actually, this is not a surprise. At Rachad, we have claiming ever since more than 8 months that Bouteflika will seek any avenue and any route to remain in power. This is linked to a mixture which is a characteristic of the current regime, which is in essence a military type of regime, and the megalomania of a person, Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who would not see himself dying except as president. So now we are there. So this is exactly what we expected. And it's actually, I think it's a good sign for Algeria. Why is it a good sign? Because now the whole spectrum of the political arena in Algeria will want nothing less than the change of regime that we have been advocating since decades. It's not a matter of a sick person not being able to assume the presidency. It's a matter of a regime that is sick in itself.
Okay, and you say it comes as no surprise, and I want to talk again about the protests that we're seeing, because it's very rare to see people protesting in Algeria. We didn't see this even during the Arab Spring.
Of course, these are huge protests. We had millions of Algerians in the street yesterday, and I expect that to go higher, and especially that the regime has been doing all that it had in its means to threaten the people. We should not ignore that people who are accused of big crimes in Algeria, but the Algerian people, like the Prime Minister Yahya, threatened the Algerians and said, look, we will go in a scenario like Syria, whereas nothing at all during these huge demonstrations pointed to that route. We have seen totally non-violent protests, a high degree of restriction, people being civilized, not touching, cleaning the streets after the protests. So if violence comes, we already know from where it comes. And I think that now we'll be at a turning point.
Okay.
There are two routes, basically, either to accept the current regime or to put an end to it and go into a transitional period, which will bring about the Second Republic in Algeria.
Okay, and if Bouteflika does resign?
I don't expect him to resign. I mean, that's the point. The analysis is really a mixture of, as I said before, of megalomania and also the interest of the military establishment and the mafia establishment. You should not forget that we really have we are going with this regime to a failed state in Algeria. This is what is going to happen. And that's why the Algerian people who have been really under the trauma of the 90s, the war of the 90s, now have realized that we will go even in a worse route if this regime stays. So I think that the days of the regime are now counted. The Algerian people is not here to accept any cosmetic change, like a change in government or false promises or whatever things that would be changing the economy or whatever. The question now is really to put an end to a totally corrupt and disliked regime in Algeria, and this needs to be done quickly, but of course non-violently, and we will see that happen without any doubt in the coming days.
Dr. Mourad Dhina, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us on TRT World.